The Association for Justice and Treatment Professionals and the International Association of Treatment Court Professionals are non-profit associations which seek to provide a forum for sharing ideas, stories, and best practices aimed at combating the social, economic, medical, and psychological determinants of crime. Through this forum, we seek to highlight innovative justice and treatment collaborations. This webinar is the first in a series. My name is Justice Kofi Barnes. I speak to you as chair of these organizations and moderator of this afternoon's webinar. Working behind the scene to ensure that this webinar proceeds smoothly are Jennifer Graham, Assistant Crown Attorney in Ontario, Andre Rivard, Duty Counsel, Ontario Legal Aid, Kim Briggs, Justice Services Case Manager, Elgin Therapeutic Court and Mental Health Court Diversion, Erin Smith, Counselor Case Manager with Appeal, Addiction Assessment and Referral Center, Jessica Ikuna, Counselor, Appeal, Addiction Assessment and Referral Center. We are all pleased to welcome you to this webinar and to introduce Paulette Walker. Before we do that, some housekeeping matters. We welcome questions, and you can send them via the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We will end at 2 p.m. or just before that time. Now about Paulette Walker. Paulette Walker is a consumer survivor and a graduate of the Toronto Drug Treatment Court at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. In 2002, Paulette, deep in the throes of her addiction, had the opportunity to change her life, and she has not looked back. In August of 2003, she graduated from the Toronto Drug Treatment Court. She immediately became an alumni of the program and started her volunteer work with the Toronto Drug Treatment Court and the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Paulette went back to school and she applied for a position as a chef at the Russell Street cafeteria location, where she remained employed until July 2011. In 2005, Paulette was invited as a guest of the United Nations to share the story. She traveled to Vienna for that. She's also been a recipient of the Courage to Come Back Award. In 2008 and 2013, Paulette received the Kamech Edward Tremaine Memorial Award of Excellence. In 2008, she was hired as a part-time peer support worker. And while doing this meaningful work, she continued to work part-time for Aramark in the Russell Street location. She then decided she needed to go back to school so that she could be able to do her work more effectively. In 2012, Paulette completed her community support worker program at George Brown College. Paulette continues working towards her educational goals. She was hired as a full peer support worker for the Toronto Drug Treatment Court in 2012, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. She has been a Bell Let's Talk ambassador. Paulette, thanks for your willingness to relinquish one of the most cherished human traits, that is your privacy. And thank you for being willing to share your story, to inspire others, and to give others courage. I've known you a long time. I'm one of your biggest fans. Where did this all begin?
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Justice Barnes. This story began, I just started with a little bit of humor. Sometimes, you know, I'll just start saying, I met a guy. So that being said, I started using crack cocaine in the early 80s. I was living here in Toronto, and I was working as a makeup artist and esthetician, and I decided to go on a vacation. And so I went down to Jamaica, and I spent a few weeks, came back, and I decided that I'm going to go home to live. I wanted to experience living in Jamaica as an adult. And so I packed up. I gave myself 6 months. I packed up everything I had. I took my son and I moved. And I moved down to Jamaica and opened up a business. It used to be called Angelique's Cosmetics, and where I did manicures and pedicures and facials and sold cosmetics and clothing, just a cute little boutique, and it was located in the Casa Montego Hotel. While I was there, I met, I was going to the gym and stuff, and I met the owner for this gym in Montego Bay. And so we became friends. And then she asked me one day that she's looking to sponsor somebody for the Miss City of Montego Bay beauty contest. And I said to myself, I don't know if I want to do that. But I went back and I spoke to my aunt about it and asked her what she thought. And she said, well, I think it would be a really good idea. She said, you'll be able to get some advertisement for your business and so on. And, and I used to do a little bit of modeling here in Toronto before that. So anyway, I went for it. That year, I was also the makeup artist for the rest of the contestants in the beauty contest. I did their makeup and I competed against them at the same time. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I was first runner-up. While I was on stage that night, I looked across into the audience and I spotted this gentleman. That's the guy I'm talking about. And I don't know, I just felt this immediate attraction to him, but I didn't meet him that night. For a whole year, I was kind of looking around Montego Bay to see if I ever saw him again. And then the following year, at the same event where I was helping my friend Elaine doing the makeup and stuff like that, I was working now for, working with her to sponsoring another young lady and being just part of the whole contest. And there he was. So I kind of poked my friend in her ribs and said, oh my God, there he is. There he is. She says, and she looked at him. She says, oh my God, that's my friend. I know him. We went to school together. And so she introduced me to him, and that's how we met. The following evening, he sent a car for me, and the driver took me and her up to his house, which was about an hour and a half away. It was up in the mountains, a beautiful, beautiful view, beautiful house, And so, at the time I see, wow, dude, this is really nice. Anyway, later on in the evening, somehow he was in the house, but I didn't see him. But she and I, we were just hanging out by the pool and, drinking champagne and having a really good time and watching videos and stuff. And then we stopped, we went for a little swim, and anyway, later on the night, he called us over to the other side of the house where he was with some friends. And this was the first time I've ever seen drugs, to be honest with you. I did not know what that was. All I know was that it was this big bottle, a lot of smoke, and it was offered to me. And without even thinking, I said to myself, sure, why not? And that first time I tried it, it was like I was hooked. Wow, my life changed. Sometimes your life is, you're walking down this road and you can choose to make a left turn or a right turn, and or you can choose to go straight ahead. I went right into it, and for the next few months, the relationship I had with this gentleman, it was just basically, you know, just it was all surrounded with drugs. And although we did go out and stuff like that, and he was very kind and very generous to me. And but after a few months, you know, I realized that I wasn't paying attention to my business that much anymore. And I got scared. And I spoke to my friend Elaine, and she had tried, but she said she's not doing that. And so thank God for, you know, thank God she, I guess she knew what it was. I don't know. But anyway, she had tried it that night, but she never did again. And but for some reason I couldn't stop. So as this went on for a few months, I just, you know, I said to myself, oh my God, I'm not going to stay in Jamaica. I'm going to go back to Toronto. So I sold my business and all the products that I had and everything to my friend Elaine, and she moved my boutique over to where the gym was. And so she had like the gym and a little cosmetic boutique and stuff like that. And I got all the cash I had. And I came back to, before that, actually, I'd sent my son back to Toronto to stay with his dad. And yeah, such really emotional memories for me. But anyway, I said, you know what? And I just bought a plane ticket. I didn't tell him I was leaving. I just came right back and I showed up at my mother's door like around 11 o'clock one night. And I never told a soul what was happening in Jamaica. Nobody knew, you know, nobody knew what I was going through. So anyway, this went on. I came back and I got myself back together and got another job and just carried on with my life. Around this time was like in the very early 80s. You know, a lot of the friends that I had, quite a few of the friends I had, you know, we're going to the club. So people had started doing cocaine, powder cocaine and stuff like that. And it became like a party drug and I got caught up in that. Then, you know, it started to escalate. And by this time, I now was working in Yorkville and I had my little boutique within a hair salon. And I was doing quite well. I'd gone back to school again, did some theatrical sort of makeup for runway models and stuff like that. And I got this really great gig to do the makeup for the Genie Awards. This was 1985. And also with that, I would also be doing the makeup for Chatelaine magazine and a few other magazines, doing makeup cover work. I did the makeup for the Genie Awards, and after the awards show, a bunch of us went to an after party at the Sutton place, and of course we were drinking quite a bit, and I remember going back to my home and getting a phone call from a friend, and I called a cab. Anyway, met up with my girlfriend, and I don't know what, I think she must have left me there. But anyway, I was in a crack house for 2 weeks. The life that I had known, that I was working so hard to achieve my goals, that life was gone. I abandoned my child. I had left him with my roommate. I had a friend that she and I rented a house, and she had a son. I had a son. So, you know, we helped each other out, and, you know, I babysat for her and she babysat for me. So apparently nobody heard from me for 2 weeks. I think I must have lost my mind. You know, 2 weeks later, I come to, like, you know, I must have slept for about 3 or 4 days, and I woke up and, you know, and it just hit me. And I said, oh my God, what have I done? I didn't know how to crawl out of that hole that I found myself in. And the guilt and the shame, I just hang on to it. I had nothing else. And so I called my ex-husband, and he's, you know, everybody was mad at me. They were concerned. They thought I was dead. But I knew that he had my son, and I know that the job that I was supposed to start, that was gone. I had nothing. I had nothing to go back to. I didn't know how to face anyone. And so I just kept on going for the next 20 years. 20 years of my life. I was totally hooked on crack, from, you know, starting using casually to no, this is what I'm living for. During the next 20 years, I had 6 children. 2 of those kids passed away after one died at birth, and one died about 6 months after she was born. My kids, my sisters, good friends that I had, that everybody was so shocked. You know, what happened to Paulette? Oh my God, you know, like I never even used to smoke cigarettes prior to that. You know, Paulette is hooked on drugs. Her life is all mashed up. Oh my God, you know, my family's hearing that I'm sleeping in the park and stuff like that. It was just a nightmare. I, you know, end up in, so my kids were all adopted by my friends. I knew where they were. So that gave me a lot of peace of mind. But I had a lot of, you know, sadness, a lot of grief. You know, the situations that I found myself in, like I thought somebody had taken me off this planet, and I was in a Twilight Zone. You know, I was still in shock myself. I said, oh my God, how did my life get to be like this? What happened? Anyway, you know, the years went on. I tried to quit. Every time I got pregnant, I would quit, but I couldn't keep it together. I couldn't sit in my own skin. I'd never been to a detox. I'd never been to treatment. I didn't know what to do. And I started getting I started to get very, very depressed. After I had my last child, the depression even got worse. I think day by day, I was just praying to die. Made a few attempts, still alive. And then I started praying for some sort of miracle. My prayer was, God help me, take this hunger out of me, and let me not ever feel like I need to. I felt like I was like a vampire, you know. As soon as the sun went down every evening, it's just like I had to feed. And that's what my life was like. And for about 2 years, you know, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And then on November the 11th, 2002, I'd had a horrible night the night before. I had escaped a situation that I found myself in, that I thought I probably would have died. It was like one of those scenes out of CSI. I escaped that situation, and I went back to where I hang out with, where all my, what I call my friends, were. And So I stayed there for most of the night, and during the day, the next day, you know, I just had this really weird feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was going to happen. I didn't know what it was. And I wasn't feeling safe in that house, you know. And so in the evening, I got dressed, and there's a neighborhood bar that I went to. And a gentleman approached me, said he wanted to buy some drugs, if I could help him out. And, you know, me, you know, back then, you know, I think I'm so slick. I think I'm so smart. I think, oh God, okay, now I have some money, because I was broke. I figure, okay, I'll spend half the money he gives me, give him, you know, whatever. Anyway, I went to pick up for him. I gave him the drugs. Nothing happened. I went back upstairs. I was upstairs for about a half an hour, and then I said, you know, I'm hungry. I'm going to go across the street to get something to eat. When I'm crossing the street, this is right at Vaughan and St. Clair area, I was, a whole bunch of cars just pulled down on me, cop cars. You know, it was a scene out of a movie. Guns drawn. I was blocked in. Put your hands up. And I started doing jumping jacks. It was like, oh my God, please don't shoot me. Anyway, I was arrested. When I was in the cruiser, I rested my head back and I said, oh my God, it's over now. I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea that was going to be my last day using. Anyway, I was arrested. I went to jail. I went to Women's Detention Center. I was there for a few weeks. I really don't remember even how long it was. You know, I was detoxing in jail. I was tired. I felt like, I remember just going into hearing all those doors closing behind me. I thought I was in the belly of the beast. I thought I would never get out. So I just resigned myself. This is it. I'd never been to jail before. I've been arrested for, petty things like shoplifting earlier on when I started using and didn't have a job. And then I stopped doing that because I was really lousy at it and I kept getting caught. But so there I was, sleeping, sitting on those hard benches. My tailbone would hurt, my back would hurt, everything hurt. But one day, this young lady, she looked at me and she says, Paulette, how come you haven't called anyone? Don't you have anyone to call? And I said, I'm not calling anybody, because I had called and my family had stepped up and helped me out so many times, and I'd made so many promises, one promise after another. Every time I would get clean, I would make all these great promises. This is going to be it. I'm going to, do well. And then I would fall. Too many plans, then everything would be overwhelming. And I would quit for all kinds of reasons. I quit because I'm in love. I quit because I'm pregnant. I'm quit because I'm tired of this. But I wasn't doing any treatment. And so that's the missing piece I found out after. Anyway, she told me there was a program that's called I could get bail from. And I'm going, what? She says, yeah, the drug diversion program. So I said, okay. So I put my name on the list, and then a couple of weeks later, I came up. I found myself in front of Justice Bentley. I did that walk through to Old City Hall, not a level of shame. And then this is when I found myself in courtroom 116, and Justice Bentley asked the court officer to remove the handcuffs. And he said to me, he asked me my name for the record. So I told him my name is Paulette Walker. He asked me my age, think I was somewhere about 44 or something then. Asked me how long I had been using, and I said over 20 years. He asked me how many kids I had. I told him I have 5 children alive. 2 passed away. He says, do you want to stop using drugs? And I thought for a minute, not even for a minute, but, and I said, yes, I do. I do want to stop, but I don't know how. I don't know how to do this. And then he said to me, well, we are here to help you. We're here to support you and guide you. We only ask one thing of you, is that you be honest with the court. If you happen to use drugs, we ask if you use, you need to answer honestly. So I'm saying to myself, oh my God, does he really think that I'm going to come in here and tell him that, yes, I use? This must be some sort of a trick. Anyway, I was released. And because I didn't have an address, I was placed in the shelter. Luckily for me, there was a couple of volunteers in the courtroom that day that actually gave me a right to women's rest, because honestly, I don't think I would have made it there on my own. Probably would have ended up using. But this chaplain was there, and he drove me straight to Bathurst and Dundas and dropped me off there. And I stayed. The very next day, actually, I came to CAMH for an assessment. So this is where I tell my clients, or anybody asks me, how long you've been around CAMH. I said I came to CAMH sometime in December, must be about just before Christmas, December of 2002, and I haven't left. Honestly, I have not left CAMH since then. And so I came for the assessment, and I started group the following week, and group and court and all this stuff, and got to know all the rules and what was expected. And I found it very fascinating, even though I wasn't really trusting the system. I was just doing what I needed to do for the first month so I could get in the program, because I'm on that 30-day thing. But in that 30-day, I actually started to thinking that, maybe I can do this. And what I found really, really helpful was, during my time in drug court, was all the support and the one-on-one counseling. I met this great therapist, Serena. And at first, I wouldn't open up to her or anything like that. Because they were writing down everything. I wasn't trusting anybody at all. But one day, she said to me, the door is open, you do have a choice. And I never really thought that I really had a choice. And so I thought about it, and I said, Paulette, what do you have to lose? You've lost everything. I paid the ultimate price for making that one bad turn. I lost all my kids. But as it turned out, Serena taught me how to be a strong Black woman. She taught me so much, and I started to feel like, like a human being, like I was worth something. Anyway, I went on, and during that time, I reconnected with my family, even though it took them a while to come around, because they had heard it from me before. Oh yeah, I quit. My mom go, yeah, right. Everybody just kind of said, okay. So I didn't bother to quarrel with anybody, trying to prove anything. I just said, okay, I really, as Justice Bentley would say, because I would sit in court and I would listen. The proof is in the doing. So instead of talking, I did the work. And then, I realized that I really, really love this life. It is because being out there, that's hard work. That's hard work. It's sad, it is depressing, and you just can't stop. It's just like, it's one of the most horrific, traumatizing experience I've ever had, those 20 years. And I come from a lot of trauma, even prior to that. And it's during those therapy sessions too that I realized why, my life turned out the way it did, because I'd gone through so much as a child. And I've always felt this emptiness inside of me, and this loss, or, low self-esteem, and so on. And so that's when I learned about the connection between, addiction and trauma. And, the opposite of addiction is connection. And for me, I really felt like I belonged in this new community that CAMH and drug treatment courts offered me. I felt like, oh gosh, I've met my people. I met my clan, people who are just like me, and just trying to keep their head above water, And anyway, I end up graduating from drug court. I started in December the very next year. For the first 6 months, I lived at Nazareth House, and which is a recovery home for women. And what I learned there was just like your day-to-day living, and having your goals, and following through. And then I started cooking. And I realized that I enjoyed cooking. And my therapist said, so when I graduated, I said, what am I going to do? I can't stay on welfare. I need to go back to work, and I can't do makeup artistry anymore. So I took this course, and I started working I applied for a job at CAMH in the cafeteria, and I got it. And, I worked there for 7 years, and it was great. I was only making like $10.50 an hour, but I felt wonderful. And I remember the very next spring, I think it was 2004. One day I'm leaving work and I can't be. I said, oh my God, I feel so good. I thought that, having lived the way I had lived for so long, and I kind of carried this coat, or this feeling of like I was dirty, or like I had a cloud of crap around me. And I thought I would feel like that the rest of my life. And I didn't. I felt great. And I said to myself, I think I'm going to share my story, because especially for women, I thought, who knew that I could stop and feel so great about myself, and just feel so light. I'd done all the, I'd forgiven, and I had been forgiven, and I forgave, everyone and anyone who had brought any harm to me. And I did ask for forgiveness from, my kids, my family, God, him most of all. And I felt light. And that's why I started sharing my story. And then I've been doing that since then. Well, one of the most significant experiences I've had is one day Justice Bentley showed up at the cafeteria after lunch one day. Him and Shannon Coote, well, green. And I'm going, what is Justice Bentley doing here? You know, he said he wanted to speak to me. And so it was just after lunch, so I wasn't busy. So we sat down in the cafeteria. And then he said that they were having this conference and in Vienna, and he would like for me to come. And I'm going, what? And again, I had all the knots in my stomach. I didn't think this was something I could ever do. But as I sat back and while he explained, what this conference was about and where it was in Vienna, it was United Nations, and so on. I'm going, for Justice Bentley to come here, in this little cafeteria to ask me to speak at the United Nations, I said to myself, he must actually think that I can do it because I certainly didn't, and I figure, well, if he believes I can do it, I can do it. So I went and, it was quite the experience. He gave me his first class ticket to go. It was a great experience. I came back. It was wonderful. Following year. And I worked in that cafeteria for many years, and I continued to be an alumni. And until they started hiring peer workers at CAMH, and Drug Court had enough money to hire a peer worker, and I applied for the job, along with a few other people, for 1 day a week. And that's how I started, 1 day a week. And I've been doing peer work since. I didn't know what it really entailed, but I asked Shannon, she was my boss at the time, what is peer work? And she says, well, just look at it from a client's point of view. How you felt when you were in the program, and the kind of support that maybe you needed that probably was lacking at the time. And, then I remember that there was a lot of things that I had to do on my own. And it was hard, and it was scary, and it was embarrassing. And, like getting my bank account, like, how do you go to a bank and open an account after 25 years and not having one? And, little things like that, someone to go to the doctor with, and, get your IDs, and just someone to talk to, and also to help to make recovery fun. So I like doing a lot of like events and Christmas dinners, women's tea, men's health events, barbecues, I do a lot of fundraising along, I don't do everything by myself. I have a lot of support here. Within the program, I work with a bunch of really beautiful people. They're so supportive. My boss is the best. Thank you, Robin. Thanks to the team. And it's been wonderful. And I finally found my purpose in life. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'll be forever grateful to Drug Treatment Court and CAMH for helping me guide my way into this new life. Thank you.
Paulette, I've been waiting 19 years to tell you this. 19 whole years, right? I remember I used to be I was a lawyer.
I remember.
Time. I was the big bad wolf, remember?
I know, you were scary then.
Yeah, I know.
I behaved myself because I didn't want you coming at me.
Yeah. Well, that was my job. I was supposed to be the bad guy, right?
By the way, I was just so impressed, to be honest with you, when I came to court and there was a Black professional, a Black lawyer, because back then we didn't see too many, we didn't see too many. So,
thank you. Thank you. Maybe we can share compliments.
I really admire you for that.
Oh, thank you. But what struck me, Paulette, is, how, I've come to realize how tough addiction is. Okay. People taught me how tough it was, right? But from the first day you got in, I don't remember you ever getting in trouble. I mean, you know, and I never understood why. I mean, I think you're the only person I can remember. I mean, you know, and what was it? What was your secret? What helped you carry through during that 1 year period?
I was done. Something in me, you know, I think it's that prayer, you know, I prayed, you know, and God answered. I do believe in prayer, and it was just the right time. I also, at the time, you know, I didn't show it, but I had a lot of attitude inside. I had used my inside voice, and I wasn't about to come to court and have to explain myself to anybody. And so, you know, like, you know, yes, Your Honor, I used. And then you'd ask me, like, why did you use, you know, what triggered you, and, you know, and all this. And I didn't want to have to answer those questions. I was just too embarrassed at the time. And right away, I guess, you know, I looked at Justice Bentley and like the whole team there, yourself and Janelle. You remember Janelle? Everybody was just so really nice to me, and I guess I just wanted to make you all proud, you know, because you all made me feel like a human being.
Did you talked to us about how when you walked into the courtroom, Judge Bentley asked you a whole bunch of questions?
Yeah.
Right. Did that exchange mean anything to you? The way he treated you, the way the judge treated you, did that have any impact on your life?
It certainly did. It certainly did. From the moment he said, "Take the handcuffs off of her," and then he spoke to me like, you know, he looked directly at me. He didn't look through me. He didn't speak down to me. He just spoke to me like there was nobody else there, you know, because when I walked in that courtroom and I saw how full it was, I said, oh my God, I didn't realize it was like a bunch of addicts like myself. When I walked in, I thought they were like family members of people who are in trouble, right? So I'm walking in and I didn't know, you know, I had my head down. And then, you know, he afforded me to hold my head up and look straight at me. And for that, you know, and it was just so gentle, like, do you want to stop using drugs? You know, we're here to help you. And to be honest with you, nobody actually ever offered to help me stop quitting. I was always doing everything on my own. And for that support and that offer, I said, okay, we're here to help you. I said, okay. That exchange really, it stuck with me. It stuck with me, still does.
And another thing also that happens is you come into the court, you go through this whole process, and then now, okay, you are free. Then you are let out. You're given an appointment and a place to go, right? Mm-hmm. And when you were talking to us, you said that there was a volunteer who helped you out. Had it not been for that, you'd have used. How important was that? Give us a sense of what that volunteer helping you out, what that means.
Well, you know, as an addict, you know, when you're in jail, sure, you're not going to use. Yes, you're going to promise you're not going to use, you know, and you do really do. We do mean it. We mean it with every fiber, you know. Well, for a lot of us, once we're let out on our own, you know, that you know, especially, you know, like the drug scene is just down the street from Old City Hall. And, you know, as a person who's an addict, still is, you can feel that vibration, you know. And if it wasn't for that chaplain saying, you know, would you like a lift? Instead of going again, because instead of going, you know, right, I would have gone left. I would have gone down the street, you know, but he offered to give me a ride. And that, you know, that support, that kind of support is really, really very important, you know, for folks who are just being released. You know, I had a choice. Again, I could have said, no, thank you. You know, he's not going to handcuff me and take me up to the, you know, take me to the shelter. But somebody offered, and I said, thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to turn to Jennifer Graham to you know, take us through some questions in the Q&A. So Jennifer.
Hi, Paulette.
Hi.
So the first question we have here is, it says, your story is so inspiring. Sounds like forgiveness was a great healing. As service provider, reminder of importance of support. What support really helped you not give up? And then they said, I'm sure it was hard. So the question is basically, what support really helped you not give up?
It was the support of the whole team. You know, I tell you something, you know, drug court has its rules, right? And any program you go into, they have their rules, but it's so individualized. You know, I honestly felt until I graduated and I went to, you know, at graduation, they have this whole talk with the judge, you know, and actually, no, it was when I got hired and I went to the first pre-court meeting. And I realized this program was just not, I realized what they were doing, right? Because they would discuss and they would talk about each client and, you know, what their needs were and, you know, what they could do to support, or, you know, everybody's treated like an individual. And that's when I really understood the whole, you know, that whole teamwork, you know, and so I think when people are treated like they matter, you know, and even when you do mess up, because I saw that, you know, clients would sometimes, some clients would mess up at times and they weren't being punished. They, you know, you said, you know, what could you have done differently? You know, what triggered you? It just, it's such a caring program. I don't know. I think that's what it is, you know, when you have that kind of support.
Okay, the next one we've got is, we rephrased it a little bit, but how would you battle cravings throughout your recovery?
You know, they have this thing that said, you know, you fast forward, you rewind or play the tape. You know, if I should pick up, okay. You know, so I remember all the times that I would, you know, the times that I would quit, and then the next morning I'm feeling guilt, I'm feeling shame, all the hard work I put in, you know, I'm broke. I can't face anybody, you know. So I would remember the things that had happened to me, the beatings, the sexual assault that I went through during those years, you know, having nowhere to sleep, having to do like horrendous stuff just to get to survive. When I think about that, I said, no, thank you. So what I do is I fast forward the tape to the consequence. I don't play it, because if I play it, like it stays in my head too long. I just fast forward it to the consequence of using, and said, you know, I said, not today.
That sounds like a really great technique. Okay, we've got another one here. What are some things you tell your peer clients to support them or to encourage them? Do you have like catchphrases, or, you know, obviously you have a lot of wisdom to share?
Well, it all depends on the client, you know. You know, like I let them know that, you know, to just be gentle to themselves, you know, be kind. Don't, if you mess up, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up, because behind every single relapse, there's a lesson there. What I could have done differently, you know? Yeah. So I just said, just be kind to yourself, you know, just keep trying. We're here to support you. We love you. you know, make them feel welcome. You know, we have this thing here, you know, in the Toronto Drug Treatment Court. We give clients an appointment for Monday at 10. If they show up Friday at 4, we said, welcome, so good to see you. You know, it's just like always make the clients feel like this is where they belong, and they do belong here. And again, you know, DTC, you know, as an alumni, and after when graduating from the program, I thought that, you know, I wouldn't be around anymore. You know, I would not be needed, or if something should happen, could I come back and you know, and ask for help and stuff like that. So, you know, I said, you know, regardless of what happened out there, even after you graduate, stay close, stay connected, you know, and you can always call. Just, you can call me, you can call anyone at any time. We're here for you. Yeah.
Okay. What advice do you give to newcomers in the program as a person with lived experience?
Well, I would, either one of my teammates would introduce me as a peer worker, and you know, and said, you know, they would say, well, she went through the program 2 years ago. What? Really? You don't look like somebody, really? You know, they go like that, right? And, you know, I just let them know that, again, I just welcome them, you know, and just let them know that, you know, there is light. There is light at the end of the tunnel, you know, and it's hard work, but it's so worth it. So worth it. And just let them know that, you know, you might not believe in yourself right now, but we believe in you. Because I know that I did not believe it at first. It took me years, really, because I just went on the belief that others had in me. And that was enough to keep me going for those first couple of years, until my self-confidence grew. You know, because I depend on my therapist to tell me what to do. I didn't trust myself anymore, you know. So I think, don't listen to your thoughts anymore. You got to give in to the recovery process, and know that we got your back. I got your back. I'm not going to lead you down the wrong way, you know. And yeah.
Okay, I kind of scrolled through some of them here. You had mentioned that when you were released, that you were, someone took you to I forget the name of the house, but someone took you to a house.
Someone took me to Women's Rights. It's a shelter for women.
Yes. So the question is, how important was the housing support for your success? And do you believe that your story or the outcome or where you're at right now would be the same if you didn't have that type of support?
It's very important. I can't imagine how hard it is for, you know, for clients who having to do recovery, living on the street, you know, having nowhere to sleep. And, you know, we do have housing partnerships here in drug court, but we don't have enough. We don't have enough. And, you know, some clients have to wait it out until a spot opens up. And I admire them, you know, when you're still showing up having to sleep in a tent or to couch surf. It's, you know, it's super important that, and even though I was going to a shelter, it was way better for me, you know, it was way better than having to do it, you know, from a no fixed address, you know? Yeah.
Okay. Just give me a second. I'm trying to find another one. That's great. How important was it for you, or either while you're in the program or even now as a peer support worker observing, how important is it for you to have the same judge, same crowns, same people that you see in the courtroom every week when you attend?
It's super important. I think because I look at drug courts and the team, the treatment team, the court team, even the partnerships we have, it's like a community. And when you are, you know, like a family, you know, you don't want to see, you don't want to have a parent that changes all the time, you know, like this is my mommy today and this is my mommy tomorrow. Because a lot of us do look up to the judge, whether it's male or female, and you sort of like kind of sort of get this like parental sort of attachment, you know. And for me, like I looked at Justice Bentley like a father figure. And yeah, you know, so that I think is very important for it to be consistent, you know, because it's really hard to have different people, you know, you having to retell your story all the time, or maybe they don't really understand the background story as to why maybe you didn't show up for court today, or you missed your screen, and you didn't call, you know. And so even when you're given, you know, when they do have to get sanctions and or rewards, that is, it's consistency, that it's super important, super important.
This might build off that answer a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice or suggestions on what treatment programs can do or should do to better support their clients? Like, what do you think works?
What do I think works? I think, you know, meeting the clients where they're at. Not everybody's ready. Some people are ready and they just don't know it. Yeah, just meeting clients where they're at. Because I find some treatment programs, I find that, you know, at times they're a little bit too harsh. And yeah, so I think kindness and just meeting the clients where they're at. And with, you know, I think that really works. And be trauma informed. Yeah, you know, it's, nobody gets, you can't, you know, when you're speaking to clients, or, you know, for example, if a client missed court, or they got community service hours and stuff like that, and then the judge, or, you know, is talking to them like in front of everybody, trying to do the shame thing so they will do better, it does not work. It doesn't work, because all it does is make that person hang their head down a little lower and make them feel less than, and it's not trauma informed. And so when they do leave court, you know, the first thing they want to do is to soothe themselves. And what do you do to soothe yourself? You use drugs.
I'm going to ask Justice Barnes, are you there? I think Paulette, oh, there he is. He's coming on.
Yes. Paulette.
Yes, Justice
Thank
Barnes.
you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It takes a lot of courage to open yourself up. You have inspired us, you've given us an insight, and each time you give of yourself to us. And for that, we say thank you very, very much for the inspiration you give all of us. And thank you for opening a window for all of us.
Thank you for having me. And thanks to Drug Course and CAMH. So
with that, we'll end this webinar. And our next webinar will be on June the 2nd, but we'll end this one. Have a good afternoon, everyone.